Well, hello everyone, my name is Peaches from Lovers for Healthy Life, and I would like to welcome you to my channel. Spring gardening has been a little slow for me, kind of overdid it in the beginning with digging up the beds, turning over the dirt, hauling the dirt, and then when you wake up the next morning, you feel it in your back. And I remember back in the day when I was a lot younger, I was playing basketball with my husband and went up for a layup shot and I slipped like 3 discs. So I couldn't get out of bed the next day, and ever since then I have these little flare-ups. So I do have to watch my back. So I am going to take you out to my garden and show you some things that are already planted, that's growing, and also some new things I have in the garden. And what I'm doing this year is companion gardening. I'm really excited about that, and I can't wait to see the results. So I'll be doing another video real soon. So happy gardening, and let's go out and have some fun. My husband surprised me with this pile of wood chips. So we had this dumped over here on the property, so I can just get my wheelbarrow over here and come over here and get our wood chips as needed. And these are actually free, so yay, I'm happy about that. Definitely recommend wearing a mask when you get wood chips or working with any kind of mulch or anything like that. Okay, over in this bed right here, I have growing up this trellis some peas, and these are my sugar snow peas. And I planted marigolds right in the front, which help keep away pests. And around this bed, I planted bush beans because bush beans help add nitrogen to the soil. And in the center there is just some leftover mustard greens from last year that are starting to flower. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest those. And then in the front of this trellis is more peas, bush beans, and I think I planted some Swiss chard right there at the end. So here in this raised bed, I have my bell peppers, and I'm really excited about this particular bell peppers because these are my seeds from last year. So it's kind of good to know that your seeds actually are reproducing. And also in this bed, in the beginning of the row, I added some Burgundy Okra and also some peas to grow up this trellis. Now the peas will add nitrogen to the soil, which will benefit the okra, but then the bell peppers will get benefit from the okra because in the hot summer days the okra will help shade the peppers. I also planted the red Burgundy okra down at this end along with some marigold seeds, which will help keep pests away. And this is the Swiss chard left over from last year, and it's getting pretty large. So it's doing pretty well. I added the wood chips, and I expanded the bed and added these stones in a circular shape. And then around it I added a little bit more Swiss chard and also some ornamental kale and some basil. And I planted my grape vines in these barrels right here, and I believe we have grapes. Get a little closer so you can see the grapes coming on there. So this is just like a test to see how they're going to do in these barrels, because actually I want to grow these barrels in my greenhouse. And over here I have my Dinosaur Kale and my curly leaf kale, and this is also from last year. And I'm not actually doing anything to this particular bed except adding wood chips. We have new growth here of my Dinosaur Kale. One awesome surprise that I had in the garden this year is the spinach. This is actually New Zealand spinach from last year. Now it all died back over the winter months, but then it popped up again this spring. So basically we're just going to be adding wood chips and fertilizer to the soil. So I'm really happy about this little gem. And then also left over from last year is the sunset lettuce along with this crisp mint lettuce, and the lettuce actually does have a little minty taste to it. So we have some over there as well. And then also this giant noble spinach left over, and I'm gonna go ahead and let this go to seed and try to save the seeds because I'm gonna be planting more giant noble spinach as well. And in this same bed I planted some butter crunch lettuce along with some more sunset lettuce, more Christmas lettuce, and then also some cilantro and marigold seeds that's coming up. Okay, and over here is my garlic I planted, I believe, like in September or October of 2014. And these are my shallots and my elephant garlic over here. And I've been cutting off the scapes and putting those in stir fries and different things like that. So this garlic bed seems to be coming along pretty well. And this is my elephant garlic. I'm going to walk over here to my other bed of garlic, and this is 4 or 5 different types of garlic, I do believe. And I'm going to get out the paperwork so I can tell you exactly what I have planted over here. And in the beginning we would cut off the garlic scapes and use those in stir fries. And right now we're just going to let that turn brown. Hopefully these should be ready probably late June, early July. And I'm going to start probably in a couple weeks or so digging up a couple of them just to see what we have growing underneath. And here's my sage plant that was left over from last year. And right over there, it looks like it's flowering a little bit, but I think the flowers are really pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and let this sage plant continue to flower. And sage is a good plant to plant throughout your garden because it helps deter cabbage moths and other pests in your garden. And this is my cilantro that was left over from last year, and I'm going to go ahead and let this cilantro flower because I think the flowers are really pretty, and I'm going to be planting more cilantro throughout my beds. So I'm going to leave this here. This is really beautiful cilantro that was left over from last year. I also have several planters that have peppermint, and these peppermint smell so lovely. And I don't plant my peppermint in the ground directly because when peppermint grows, it actually takes over the area. And not only that, peppermint comes back every year after year after year. So I try to keep my peppermint plant in containers. And over this planter, I have more peppermint growing. Then I have opal basil growing over here. I believe that's some Genevieve basil over in this section. And over in this bed, I planted some lemon cucumbers to grow up this trellis, and then I added coriander. Now coriander is a nice herb similar to cilantro. I believe it is in the cilantro family, and it also tastes similar to cilantro, but it helps keep away the aphids and the different pests in your garden. And then next I planted some Swiss chard along with more coriander, and then also I planted some giant noble spinach in this bed as well. And over in this section I planted my tomato plants, and I still have several more tomato plants to plant. And in between the rows I planted basil, and basil and tomato complement each other. Basically the basil helps keep away pests and mosquitoes and different critters like that, and it also improves the flavor of your tomatoes. And over in this raised bed, I planted my red noodle beans along with corn, and this is sweet corn. And my red noodle beans are going to be growing up this trellis. And then I'm also going to be planting a few squash and also po beans. Now we decided to make the remaining raised beds out of this colored stone in a circular shape. And that way I can plant like a little flowery plant in the middle, and then plant my vegetables in a circle around the raised beds. So we're going to do about 4 or 5 of these circular raised beds. And the good thing about this type of raised bed is no prior preparation is really needed. You basically just till up the earth, set down the stones, and you have yourself a raised bed, and add your soil in the center. So we have several more of these to construct. So here's a better view of my raised beds. And back there we'll be putting in the new stone beds, circular stone beds. And then towards the back I have more barrels that I'm going to be planting my fig trees in. And I'm planting my fig trees in barrels because I'll probably be putting those in my greenhouse. So I hope everyone is off to a good start for their spring garden. And I've seen some of the gardens, they look wonderful. So as always, happy gardening and God bless.